Starting with a scrap fabric triangle, I fold it in half and draw 2 semicircles to form the shape of a heart. I then cut along the drawn lines. I'm sewing along the raw edges with a backstitch, leaving a 1/8 inch seam allowance. I'm also leaving a small gap through which to turn the piece. Now I gently turn the heart right side out. Once that's done, I place the heart on top of some quilt batting and trace around the shape. Then I cut it out. I place the lining inside the heart, working it until it lays flat. Now I'm going to close the opening with a ladder stitch. And this adorable little fabric heart is finished. Next, I'm making a drawstring bag from fabric scraps. I cut 2 pieces measuring approximately 3.5 by 2 3/4 inches. Then I choose a coordinating thread to add some decorative embroidery. I split the thread into 2 strand pieces and stitch little heart shapes using the lazy daisy technique to make 2 loops to form the 2 sides of the heart. Then I fill in the heart with some extra stitches. And this is how the first heart turned out. I continue adding hearts in a random pattern all over the front of the bag. And this is what it looks like. I then cut 2 pieces of fabric measuring 2 3/4 by 1 3/4 inches to create the channels for the drawstring to go through. I fold in the short edges by about 1/4 inch and stitch them down. Then I fold the channels in half with the right side on the outside. I place them upside down at the top of the fabric and sew them on using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Once that's done, I place the two sides of the bag right sides together and sew along the side and bottom edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure not to catch the drawstring channels in my seam. I cut 2 pieces of lining fabric in the same measurements and sew them together along the sides and bottom, leaving a small opening through which to turn the piece. I then turn the outer fabric right side out and place it inside the lining, right sides together, making sure that the drawstring channels also get tucked into the lining. Then it's time to sew along the top edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I turn the piece right side out through the opening. And close the opening with a ladder stitch. Now I'm pushing the lining into the bag. Using a safety pin, I thread a string through one channel, then the other. I tie the ends together in a knot. Then I repeat this, starting and ending on the other side. And the drawstring bag is finished. Now I'm making a tiny fabric basket. I start with a 6 3/4 inch by 3 inch piece of fabric. I fold it in half and sew along the short edge using a back stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I then open out and flatten the seam. Then I press the bottom edges together with the seam in the middle and sew along the edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once that's done, I flatten the corners into triangles and sew a straight line across them. I repeat these steps with fabric for the lining. I then turn the outer fabric right side out and place the lining fabric inside the outer fabric, with wrong sides together. I fold in the top edges by about a 1/4 inch, doing this with both the outer fabric and the lining. Then I sew around the top edge using a ladder stitch. This next step is optional. I'm using embroidery thread to add some decorative stitching around the top edge. And my little fabric basket is finished. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more sewing videos like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching.